Let's hear it. Rich Tosches. Don't overestimate it, right?
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. That's solved. So this is like 6 of us. How many tellers were there tonight?
5.
And so it's like 6 and Warren. No, here's the story. So there were 6. What do you call it when Warren is alone with 5 other people? It's a Gazette staff meeting. Okay, who started it? So I thought as this progressed during the evening, oh, terrific. There was an incredibly inspirational story, and an incredibly inspirational story with great singing, an incredibly inspirational story from like a Norman Rockwell painting, a very poignant and sad and heroic story. Warren's very fun, and then my shit. I found out about this at about noon, just so you know, but glad we put it together. I guess it's very interesting because you can't see anything.
That's okay.
Yeah. That's my wife.
No friends in the dark.
Yeah. You might want to move a little bit away from that guy. So Sharon says to me at like noon, she says, well, oh, and make it a holiday story. Yeah, and what would you think in December when somebody says that? It's like, you know, Christmas or Hanukkah or New Year's, not like somebody who's telling Thanksgiving shit. That's not a holiday. So I call this the elephant, the giraffe at the waterfall. So once again, you see the poignant, and then my shit, and even the microphone doesn't really even want to be here. So the only possible link to any holiday story is this one. And I actually had to think it over and look up I did some research. And it was 30 years ago, last week, that this story began. And basically the headline would be, and I think in newspaper writing terms, the headline would be, I got punched in the face for Christmas. And it wasn't exactly for Christmas, it was the first week of December, but I got punched in the face really hard and I got 4 stitches on my already big nose and a black eye. And so on Christmas Day, 30 years ago, that's what I was suffering through. And so I can tell you the story about getting punched in the face just before. Hold on just a second.
Did you deserve it?
What are you doing?
So my wife says, well, tell them who punched you in the face. That's what that was. So she said, tell them who punched you in the face. The story doesn't really, the story kind of sucks. So the guy who punched me in the face was Muhammad Ali. And everybody goes, whoa! And even the white people try to sound black when they say, you mean Ali? We don't usually do that. I just find it interesting. So I guess the bigger headline would be, in December of 1981, Muhammad Ali punched me in the face. And so, yeah, and so I can kind of lay out the story. We weren't in the boxing ring. We were in the lobby of the Beverly Wilshire Hotel. I was a sports writer for United Press International and then for the Los Angeles Times, and specifically for a few years I was a boxing writer. So I got invited to a black tie tuxedo thing with Muhammad Ali as the honored guest at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel. And we walk in, and my wife was with me, and Ali just locks onto me in a group of people, and he comes over and he puts his arm around my wife and he says, "What are you doing with this chump? You could be with me." And he's like taking her away, and I'm thinking, wow, this is great. I mean, this is Muhammad Ali. I mean, anyone else, like there's nobody else you could say this is great, but it was great. And he was doing Muhammad Ali. He was like, "What are you doing with this chump?" And he's walking around with her. And then this was funny enough, and everybody's laughing. There's a whole lobby full of people. He takes off his suit coat, or his tuxedo jacket, and one of the guys who was with him says, "Somebody's going to get an ass whooping now. This is Muhammad Ali, and we're in Beverly Hills, California." So he starts with me throwing punches. He's throwing punches, and he's stopping them right at the end of my nose, and his arm is like a mile long. And each one of his hands is like the size of a football. And he's just this huge man, and I'm thinking, this is Muhammad Ali. This isn't like Sonny Liston. This isn't Larry Holmes. This is Muhammad Ali. And he's throwing punches, and he's stopping them. And this thing is coming, and it was just terrifying. It was horrible. And I'm really, really brave. And so I'm retreating really fast. And my lower back, the bone is called the coccyx, struck a glass table, and I lurched forward as he was. And he hit me right in the face, and I went down on one knee, and I put my hand up, and there was blood on it, and I'm thinking, this is the greatest day. It will not just only happen to me, it will happen to anybody. There's nobody on earth that could have a better experience than that. I'm going, I would hurt, you know? So I'm like this guy, you know? I'm like this big. I'm maybe 20 pounds heavier than I was back then. But I'm this guy. And next thing I know, I'm off my feet. And my feet are going like this. And he's got me and he's going, "Man, I am so sorry. Are you all right?" And I'm thinking, this is the greatest guy ever. And it was only years, many, many years later, it was about a week ago. And I realized what he was doing was he was making sure I didn't sue him. But I was kind of naive. I don't know, Susie, how old was I in 1981?
You're 26.
I was 26, so I was a big deal. You know, it was a big deal. I was young, and so Ali punched. So he's going, "Man, are you all right?" And I'm thinking, yeah, I guess so. On my nose. So he puts me down. And he takes a handkerchief and he's dabbing at it, and I wish I had kept it, but I didn't. And the rest was kind of hazy. And they had this dinner, and they honored him, and somebody had stopped the bleeding, and he had stitches the next day. So anyway, he was training at that time to fight in his last fight, Trevor Berbick, 1981. I think it was December 11th. So he was on his way. But first, there was going to be this huge mega news conference in Las Vegas. So all the writers went, and I went. And there must be five. This is Muhammad Ali. There's 500 writers wherever he went. And so we're in the grand ballroom at Caesar's Palace, and Ali comes up like this, and he's talking, and this whole room is full of us rotten sports writer people. And all of a sudden he's talking to me. And he's just locked on, and I'm like 10 rows deep, and he just locks onto me, and he gets up and walks on. He's got a terry cloth robe on, he's all sweaty. And he walks down and he picks me up out of my chair. He drags me up the aisle, sits me on this side of him, and tells everybody this story. Man, this is one tough writer. And I'm thinking, back there in the hotel, that was nothing. That was like chicken shit. This is the greatest thing that's ever happened. Never will. No matter what else happens to me. So he's got his arm around me, and everybody starts laughing, and I'm just humiliated. So here's Muhammad Ali, the most handsome man in the world, and I'm sitting next to him, and I look somewhat like this. And luckily, because I'm in the news business, and we're always, usually, especially in the old days, there were always photographers with you, wherever you went. So luckily, several people got this photograph, including the United Press International photographer, Glenn Wagner, who offered to burn the negative for $100. And that was a lot of money in '81. So I have this picture, and I almost brought it with me, and Sharon and I talked. She said, no, you can't bring pictures. And so I have this picture, and it's the funniest thing, and if you want, you can come by the house, and I'll show you. And it's kind of fake deal, but it's an 8x10 black and white photo of Ali, the most dignified human being that ever walked the planet, and shit for brains. That really ugly shirt, 1981 shirt. And so he told everybody the story, and for years after that, they were relentless, and I eventually had to leave Los Angeles. Luckily landed at the Gazette. Who the hell would move from the Los Angeles Times to the Gazette? So there's like a whole room full of people standing here listening to a moron talk about, but the Ali story is dead on true. When I worked at the Los Angeles Times, I wrote about it, and Ali wrote me a letter. I have two great letters in my life. One is handwritten from Muhammad Ali, and the other one, Susie, you've seen this one, from Dear Abby. Also, by the way, I lived in Beverly Hills, and so when I wrote a column for the Los Angeles Times, she wrote me this handwritten, it's just stunningly handwritten note that I have sealed in a very permanent way in a sandwich bag. I'm not much for, I'm not a scrapbooker. So it's just this lovely note that says, that last story you wrote in the Los Angeles Times was very, very funny, and if you're ever up this way, knock on my door. And she gave her address, and I was 27, I think she was 108. But I thought, shit, it's Beverly Hills. And a few years later she died, and we never did meet, but I have two great letters in my possession, both sealed in sandwich bags. Probably something wrong with me. From Muhammad Ali and from Ann Landers. And two of us are still alive. So thank you very much.